The main event came up. Roman Reigns versus Montez Ford. And Roman Reigns, of course, had Paul Heyman in the corner. And I looked, and they had 23 minutes left in this program. And I said, certainly to God, they're not going to have Montez Ford go 20 minutes with Roman Reigns, the champion. The guy's about to fight the demons. The guy's about to fight Brock Lesnar. And I'm going to zip ahead and see if there's something else that, is going to come after this or whatever. But as I start to zip, they went to a break on their own after like 1 minute of action.
They went to a break in the middle of the walk to the ring, and then once they got to the ring, they went to another break.
Yeah, it's just so then they come back after 3 minutes, and Reigns gets a little heat on old Montez Ford, and Ford fires up and makes a comeback, and Reigns goes out. God damn it. Reigns goes outside, takes a powder to, take a walk on the babyface for a minute and regather his bearings. And Montez Ford goes out and is going to do a spot where he was going to jump up and run down the announcer's desk and jump off on Reigns, who was at the other end of it. And apparently, this was something that old Montez Ford decided he was going to go into business for himself on because he's in a big main event against the champion. And apparently, nobody told Montez Ford, don't get up on that announce desk there, son, because we pulled the pins on it. And he took one step up on the announce desk, and it just came apart flatter than 4 o'clock right in the floor and scattered the announcers and everything. Folks, at this point, for God's sake, I don't think this will be the most startling revelation anybody gives you this week. The announce desk since the late 90s, and I believe it was the Magic Man himself, Richie Posner. I don't know if Richie's still with the company or not, but he was the special effects guy, the gimmick man. He could make a rubber machine gun. Anything you needed done that was sort of something needed to be fixed, or it was a little bit of an illusion to the thing. You went to Richie Posner. And they figured out a way that they put those desks together where they can pull pins and they will come apart and flatten. So that's why earlier in the show, Pat McAfee was standing up on the table, on the desk, and it didn't go anywhere because it was put together. And then in some break before this match came up, for reasons that we will talk about here in a second in the finish, they pulled the pins, but nobody told Montez. So he took, goddamn, down he goes, and down the desk goes. And I wrote, he fucked up some kind of spot, and they went to break again. And then that's when they came back from that, that's the third or fourth segment. I said, they are going to let this guy go 20 minutes with Roman Reigns. So I fast forwarded to the finish because everybody knows what's going to happen eventually with this. And I'm sorry, Montez Ford is not next week going to be a major singles attraction. And Reigns front face locked him and tapped him out. And the best part about that was in the background, there was a sign that said, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. And I'm not sure whether that was a mistake or not. It's only one letter, But anyway, so Paulie tells Reigns to make an example of Montez Ford and says with the dramatic and the gravel in his voice, and take it to the extreme, because they're in Philadelphia. But it didn't get a pop. Did you hear? Maybe a small smattering, but the ECW audience is not watching this shit anymore. Are they?
They're certainly not attending these shows in Philadelphia. There was no pop at all for Paul doing it. It was like he did it in any arena anywhere, not in Philadelphia.
Yeah, so that was their nod to the local, but that's 25 years or 20 years or whatever. Anyway, so here come the Usos to the ring, and Reigns wears Montez Ford out with a chair. I don't know why they have to just beat the dead horse. We're going to talk about that in a minute with another match. But so meanwhile, the Usos, if you watch this back, viewers, listeners, Cult of Cornette, the people out there, if you've got it DVR'd, you watch it back. The Usos come out, and what they were supposed to do, obviously, was put this fucking guy through the announce desk. But instead, you see either Reigns and Heyman say something to the Usos, and the Usos go under the apron skirt, and one Uso stands up and does like shit, like they ain't no table there, dog. But the other one's, no, come here, and they pull another table out, and they set the table up and choke slam Ford through the table to make up for the announce desk that he collapsed. And then the lights go out. And suddenly when they come back on, the Demon is on the top rope and the heels are on the floor, and he cross-bodied all three heels off the top onto the floor and then gets a kendo stick and wears them out, and then took a chair to everybody, including Reigns, and, and just wore them out. I know they've got a big event. You can't even say pay-per-view anymore. Few people do, but they had a big show that weekend. But good God, I believe I would have saved the babyface kicking the teetotal shit out of Roman Reigns and both the Usos for Brock Lesnar, at least on free television. But that's just me. But it's like there's no, as we'll talk about in a minute with the Demons match on pay-per-view with Reigns, there's no restraint anymore with they just want car wrecks and car crashes, and it doesn't matter how strong or weak some guy looks when there's a big match coming up, because they just think that everybody just forgets about that, which they probably do, because all of this is just people crashing through shit and breaking furniture over themselves. What do you think?
I'm not big on this whole Roman Reigns Demon thing to begin with, since it started a few weeks ago. I like everything with Reigns, and I like the Usos more as backing Reigns up than their actual matches, I think, sometimes.
Yes, yeah, matches leave a bit to be desired.
But, obviously things fell apart, like you pointed out here at the end of the show. The table thing was pretty hysterical.
Well, and, they used to. And, of course, that's happened sometimes in the past when somebody wasn't clued in on something. It led to a funny spot or something getting screwed up or whatever. Remember the story they told when Bischoff, they were going to do on a WCW show in the late 90s, somebody was going to go through a spot in the ramp, and they told everybody, stay away from that spot in the ramp. And Kurt Hennig, as a rib, acted like he was going to either powerbomb somebody or get powerbombed or slammed on that spot just to give Bischoff a heart attack in the back. We were doing a Smoky Mountain taping one night, and this was when Kevin Sullivan was sending in his band of oddities and misfits to try to, get Brian Lee, right, in anticipation of Kevin's big arrival. Nobody knew who was behind this at this point. And for the next fucking match involving Brian Lee, we had the Mongolian Mauler, not the Mongolian Stomper, but the Mongolian Mauler,
Peter R.
Miller, he looked like a white Abdullah the Butcher, just bald head and huge and bulbous,
with the black things in his eyes,
with black contact lenses in his eyes. He had weird faces and loud noises and all that and so we had him hiding under the ring for the match with Brian Lee in segment 3 or whatever. But in segment 2 was the Stud Stable tag match, Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden. And they're just waylaying and beating the shit out of these job guys. And Jimmy Golden went under the ring like he was going to try to find a chair and pull a chair out. And when he pulled the apron skirt up, he came face to face with the Mongolian Mauler and scared the shit out of him. He had no idea a human being was under the fucking ring. Oh, my God. So anyway,